My friend Brett Oubre is going to teach you the law of influence. And Brett has been a friend for quite a number of years to me, but he's a very much a sought-after motivational speaker, very accomplished as a CEO, and he's an owner and operator of 6 top performing automobile dealerships in the Southeast United States. And Brett grew up with little resources, and he grew up with, honestly, little hope. And he's built success only to watch it fall and crumble. I mean, he's built it up and it's fallen down, and he's overcome some major physical handicaps. He fully recovered from a brain tumor and a paralyzed arm, and he survived a private plane crash. In fact, when Brett survived the private plane crash, the day he crashed the plane, by the way, he's not my pilot, he took a picture of it. He took a picture. He said, he took a picture, and I mean, this guy's just overcome insurmountable odds, and he just understands how life often presents us with, all of us, with 2 choices. We either stay stuck or we find a way forward. And with only one life to live, Brett really wants to, every day, execute with excellence. And he wants to be equipped and equip others to leave an impactful footprint on this world. He's a wonderful friend of mine, and he's going to do a great job teaching this law, and I can hardly wait to hear him. Would you welcome my wonderful friend, Brett? So glad to have you. So glad to have you. You guys want to move this stuff? Or you want to use this off stage? Steve, use it? Okay.
Thank you, John. That sounded very good. I mean, it's almost too much, but I mean, my daughter's first leadership seminar, and she just told me I needed to grow my leadership. I've been a follower of John for a long time, and what I'm going to tell you, I told John, and I don't know any other way to teach. My law is the law of influence, which leadership is, and people that have read that, the leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. I'd like to say I knew that from the beginning. I'd like to say I read that book, and it made an instant impact on me. And it did somewhat, but the reality is I started out in corporate leadership. And corporate leadership was really a term. It wasn't really what it was. And yet I own car dealerships today, but I started out as a corporate salesperson, then went on through a directorship and had a lot of success, and had a lot of success as a performer. And I did what a lot of people do, is I had a huge performance, and I got promoted. I thought I was so good that at the time I realized the level of my arrogance. I thought I was so good I could just catch a bird in midair at that time. I was in my early 20s, late 20s, early 30s. And I got an opportunity. We were living here in Atlanta, and I got an opportunity. I always had a dream of being an entrepreneur. And I got an opportunity to go into the auto industry. And so I went into the auto industry straight in as a general manager / I had a percentage of the store. And came in, and I did the same thing in the auto industry that I did in the corporate world. Is I jumped in as an individual contributor. I was involved in everything. I'd be back there. I'm sure I irritated a lot of people now that I look back on it, because I'd be back there in the service area, and I'd be involved in everything and what's she doing, what's going on there, and that type of thing. And I'd do the same thing in sales. I'd do the same thing in the office. Same thing with the sales management. And I realized really quickly, and I say really quickly, probably I'm a slow learner. It probably took me a year or so, that every time I left, nothing happened. And it would perplex me, and I was probably one of the people that John wrote in the book, Please Read, and handed me my book back. Because I'd go to a leadership seminar and I'd come back, or a sales training seminar or something along those lines, and come back, and literally nothing happened. No production, service would be down, the office would be down. And I thought long and hard, what is going on? Now, this is the part I said it's going to be a little, because we're all faithful followers of John, it's a little tough to hear. And it's a lot of, very intimate and really revealing is one of my jobs as I was getting promoted up through the ranks was to be director of training. And the only reason that I was director of training is I started out in a startup company, and I had a lot of success as an individual salesperson, so they came, and then I had a lot of success as a direct manager, and they came to me and said, hey, it'd be great if you ran training. Well, I had about as much business running training as I did, anything. I was a good salesperson, and I was a good manager of stats. And, I'd go spend time with a salesperson, and I'd walk in and go, blah, 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 blah. Did you get all that? Yeah. And didn't realize that until the story I'm going to tell you. But as one of the things we got into was we were going to do corporate education. And so they came to me and said, hey, we want you to start bringing corporate education to our entire force. And at this time, we probably had about 1,000 people. And we had 16, 17 direct managers. And so there was 2 guys based out of here in Atlanta, and they brought me the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And I took the book, and I flipped through it, and I closed the book, and I said, we're not going to read a book by a pastor. And I stuck it. At the time, I had a briefcase that was a roller bag. I stuck it in there. I zipped it up. Fast forward 5-6 years, I'm doing this auto business. And I'm clicking along, and I'm about a year into it. And if anybody's had the experience where they had to make a transition from a producer, quote unquote, manager of statistics to saying, I've got to do something different, I just got extremely frustrated. And it had to be them. It had to be, I've got the wrong people. And it had to be that it was she, him, they, we, everybody but me. And I pulled that book out and I saw it. And I read the book from front to back, and it was almost like I was sitting there and John was in the living room with me going, like a parent. Now, Brett, now, Brett, now, Brett, now, Brett. And I got to the law of influence. And the law of influence, what I realized is that the only reason people were even attracted to me was because of the performance. Other than that, when you took the performance out, most of the folks would have nothing to do with me. And when I finished reading the book, I called the 2 people, and this was years later, I called the 2 people that gave me the book, and I apologized to them for the arrogance that I had by not paying attention to something that they thought. And what I've learned since then is that the influence, if you want to find the real leaders, go to the churches, go to the nonprofits, go to the places where they don't have the power of the paycheck and see if they're succeeding. We're sitting here in 12 Stone Church today, which is one of the fastest growing churches in America. There've got to be leadership. They don't pay the congregation to come to church on Sunday. People come here because they want to. Now, because I know that, John's a religious person, I'm a religious person. I grew up, my dad was in ministry. But I wanted to be, I considered the 2 to be different. Does that make sense to you? And so I wanted to be, I remember when they brought me the book, I was like, go find me, at the time Jack Welch was big, go find me a Jack Welch, go find me another leader. And now understand what I'm saying is I had already read the books, now first break all the rules, now discover your strengths. I knew that you had to find people with their talent and place them in the right spot, and that you had to borrow other people's talents that you didn't have. But just because you know something don't mean you're executing those things. And the law of influence, in fact, when they called me and asked me to do this opportunity, and they were going through the different ones that we could do, when they hit all the law of influence, I said, nope, that's the one I want to do, because it's such a personal story to me. It just feels like it still happened yesterday. And if you know, I know that, you know, when they talk about the 21 laws, they say you can't be good in all of them, and there's going to be ones that you do not have the talent, and you bring somebody alongside of you to actually do that. But my personal belief is that if you can, there's like some of those laws that you got to be able to do, and if you can't be a leader. And to me, the law of influence is like one of the backbones of that. If you can't influence people, then it's going to be a problem to go forward and be successful. And so I combed through that law. I sat down with all my team and I apologized. I'd like to say, and this is a key point to me, is I'd like to say that at that moment I became an expert, and it wasn't even close to the truth. It was a beginning. I never got it there. I left that business and got out of the business for a little while, and I had some other business holdings, because if I'm honest with you, I felt like I failed. And when I had that brain tumor, I would get up in the morning, I was going to PT and therapy, and I'd go to my office for a little while, and I'd go to therapy, and I sat down in my chair when I get home, and I just kept writing out I wanted to lead, train, motivate, and mentor people in the auto industry. And it was at that point. And to me, anything that you take in, you know, John said we're constantly growing. Anything that you take in is something that you can use down the road. When I started really taking that advice was after I'd left that first dealership, and I was doing the commercial real estate development, and I was building those shopping centers, and I kept reading those leadership books, and I kept thinking, I remember some mornings waking up and going, why are you still reading this stuff? And thinking to myself, and after I had that tumor, and I had that, you know, epiphany that that's what I wanted to do, I got the opportunity to get back in the business. And I said, I'm going to build a team based on influence. And of course, a lot of you, the first question I always get whenever people find out you're an auto dealer, say, what do they do in that tower? And what do they say? We can't tell you. And second one is always, do you really make nothing on a vehicle, right? But what I noticed was when I was working for that other company, there's 22,000 dealers in the U.S. I got to go in 21,000 of them. So I got a big sample of what that business looked like, and I realized there was a leadership vacuum. And so I said, man, if you could take that leadership and you could build good leadership, what does that look like? Because your competitors are not doing that. And so it's been a game changer for me. It's been the difference. The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership has been the difference. Immediately, we read that at least once a quarter. We'll go back through the book and do it again. I first heard John's name. I'd like to say it was with those two guys, but I first heard John's name from Zig Ziglar. And Zig was a friend and a mentor to me in sales. But I never did anything with it. I'm kind of hard-headed, I guess. And the thing Zig always said was, you know, repetition is the mother of learning, the father of action, and the architect of accomplishment. And so we do it over and over and over and over and over till when I was listening to the laws of John's dad a while ago, it's almost like he was talking to me. And when I applied that law of influence in my situation, and that's all I know how to do is tell you my situation, and then you can kind of see the the situation unfold. In my situation, it started out as failure, and then it was redemption, because you got to go tell the people, hey, that's why I called those two people in Atlanta 5-6 years later. You got to tell those people, hey, I did it. I failed. I failed you. I was arrogant. I didn't listen. Then there's execution, and then there's constant growth. And all I can say is that's what the law of influence means to me personally. That's what the law of influence means to my life. When they asked me to do this, they asked me about notes. I said, I don't really need notes because this is my life. That law is my life. That law has been the game changer in my success as a person and in our team's success. And I teach this on a daily basis. When I say that, I'm talking about small coaching sessions. As John said, walk slowly through the crowd. When I get those opportunities, I'll get somebody, well, he did this or she did that, and I can't believe. And you start talking about, hey, whatever you believe, it's always the opposite. If you want to get somebody to do something, you don't tell them, you influence them. And you influence them by figuring out their hopes, dreams, desires, and aspirations, and reveal to them how you can take your vision for what it is and match up with their vision, and we all go up together. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You did a super job, Brett. Thanks, man. Thank you. Let me take a moment and recap something that Brett said that was very helpful to me. As a writer, whenever I write, I write to expose people to maybe something that they've never thought of. And in my Laws of Growth book, I talk about the law of awareness. And Brett, when you shared today, that law just popped up in my mind to recap what you just said about the law of influence. And the law of awareness basically says you have to know yourself to grow yourself. And what Brett did is he didn't know himself. And when he began to, after putting the book down for a few years, pick it back up, and at least he picked it back up, he began to become aware of things that he needed to change in his life. And what I find that so many people, they cannot improve their life until they're aware of their life. And the moment that you and I are aware of where we are and what we need to change and who we are and how we need to make that different, that awareness is the eureka moment to get people on what I call the leadership track. That's what happened to Brett. I loved his candidness about his failures and how he didn't do it right, and he got personal about his arrogance and just all the barriers to being teachable and have a spirit of learning in your life. And yet, the hope that I want you to get from his talk was very simple. Even though it took him a while, he got there. And I just want you to know that it may take you a while, but if you'll have the same heart of Brett to get teachable and let awareness begin to fill your life, the law of influence and all the other 21 laws will begin to work really well for you. So, Brett, thanks a lot. You surely did an excellent job with that law.